I wanted to introduce you to my new toy. As you can see, it's branded Studio, which means at some point in time, Singer probably ordered these in their name. I am unable to find any information online about these at all, but based on the manufacturer, the size of the machine, and its abilities, I'm guessing this was manufactured for knitting stores or sewing machine stores, and I don't have a date of manufacture on it. As far as I can tell, I believe it's probably 80s. It was manufactured by Sankins, and they're actually still in business today. What this does is winds yarn onto cones. Now, I'm disabled and in a wheelchair with limited hand dexterity, and I can't do a lot of repetitive motion, so a manual cone winder was not a good option for me. I tried a few different varieties, but ultimately my hands and arms just went completely numb after a minute of trying to wind yarn. It actually took me 4 hours to wind one skein of yarn into a center pull ball. So my only option was to look for a cone winder, and there are very few options on the market. The only one that seemed even feasible for me based on its construction was the Nancy's Knit Knacks, but it doesn't wind a full cone. It winds a ball onto a cone and leaves half of the cone empty, and just because I want to be able to fit as much as possible onto the cone, I decided it's probably not the best idea, plus it was way out of my budget. This happened to be a really good find for me. I just wanted to share it because I haven't seen these at all. And I do know Singer made a home winder under the Studio brand name. I've seen a few of them. They're green and they wind on like a orbital axis almost. And they're pretty fast, but I really wanted something that was going to wind a full cone without costing $2,500, wind the cone correctly without it being just the ball on half the cone. And I didn't like the silver needles because it seemed really noisy, and I read quite a few complaints about knots getting through the knot finder. This has a knot finder. It's right here. You can see the little jaws there. It's got tension, so it does tension here. And as far as I can tell, that might be adjustable with this bolt here and the nut on the end. I'm not quite sure though, because I believe it might just end up squeezing it until it can't go any further. So that might just be a standard setting. Now, there is this little bar here where the thread goes through, and that is the switch to turn the machine on. It's got a start and a stop button here. There's a source light and a yarn break light, which means that it is going to detect knots. It's going to do everything that I was looking for in a cone winder. I actually got so desperate, my husband and I designed a cone winder for sale. We were going to have it manufactured just based on the fact that I needed that because of my disability. However, we got really lucky and came across this beautiful machine that was cheaper than what I could build one for. It's actually cast iron or some sort of steel. It's powder coated green, so it's actually it's a really pretty machine, as you can see here. And once you thread the cone, you're going to thread up this mast, and then the yarn's going to come down. It's going to go through this, and then it's going to go through the switch, or the tensioner, the switch, the knot detector. It's going to come straight across here, and this is what is called a reversing screw, but it has quite a few different names. If you are interested in more information, I'm happy to share what I know. But it's called a reversing screw. But these barrels are actually available, these black barrels. They're made out of some sort of Delrin or really dense, hard, heavy plastic. There's also stainless steel available that's machined. They're available from China, anywhere from $7 to $100 depending on the material and the volume. I decided not to order one and build my own machine because I came across this machine, but I was actually in the process of piecing together and designing the machine I was going to build for myself and then offer them to others who needed the same type of machine. The last function here is this lever, which locks the cone down, and then something else interesting is this actually twists. I don't know if it's supposed to. The yarn shop that owned this before made some marks here, so I can only assume that that's for different size cones. As you can see, it can be adjusted. The width can be adjusted, so it can actually come down to a skinny cone, like thread even. I wouldn't be surprised if I could get it to wind thread. And this is pretty interesting. The cone adapter, I'm going to do this one-handed. As you can see, the cone adapter has a multiple size head on it, so you can fit from the smallest inner diameter cone all the way out to the big boys. So the good news is I don't have to buy any special cones. That was something that really bugged me about a lot of the machines, is that they had some limitations as far as the cones that you were able to fit on the machine. And it actually looks like I may be able to fit the cylindrical cone that's just the straight cylinder, but she actually sent a few cones with the machine. So I had it shipped here all the way across the country, but I was desperate for this machine because of my physical needs and my disability. Anyway, I'm gonna press run on it so you can hear how quiet it is. It's really amazingly quiet. I'm actually pretty surprised because I was watching some videos on industrial cone winders and all of them were insanely loud, probably because they were doing hundreds at a time, but this is just one cone. So that's the good news. I'm gonna press the on switch and hit the lever back here, and it's very quiet. It is no more loud than a fan on medium. So now what I can do is wind my cones automatically without having to go through hours of more pain and numbness in my hands and weakness because I lose my fine motor skills when I have that happen. So I just wanted to share my new toy and see if anyone else has one. I'd be interested to learn more and contact anyone who may have one of these in the garage or the basement or in the back of their shop or anything like that. I just haven't seen it before, couldn't find anything on Google Images, eBay, anything. So I would be interested to hear if anyone has one. Thanks!